The Lockheed P-38 Lightning is an American single-seated piston-engine fighter aircraft that was used during World War II. Developed for the United States Army Air Corps, the P-38 had distinctive twin booms and a central nacelle containing the cockpit and armament. Allied propaganda claimed it had been nicknamed the Fork-tailed Devil by the Luftwaffe and two planes, one pilot by the Japanese. Along with its use as a general fighter, the P-38 was utilized in various aerial combat roles, including as a highly effective fighter bomber, a night fighter, and as a long-range escort fighter when equipped with drop tanks. The P-38 was also used as a bomber pathfinder, guiding streams of medium and heavy bombers, or even other P-38s equipped with bombs to their targets. Used in the aerial reconnaissance role, the P-38 accounted for 90% of the aerial film captured over Europe. The P-38 was used most successfully in the Pacific Theatre of Operations and the China-Burma-India Theatre of Operations as the aircraft of America's top aces. Richard Bong, 40 victories, Thomas Maguire, 38 victories, and Charles H. MacDonald, 27 victories. In the Southwest Pacific Theatre, the P-38 was the primary long-range fighter of the United States Army Air Forces until the introduction of large numbers of P-51 Mustangs towards the end of the war. Unusually for a fighter of this time, the exhaust was muffled by the turbo superchargers, making the P-38's operation relatively quiet. The two turbo superchargers also provided the P-38 with good high-altitude performance, making it one of the earliest Allied fighters capable of performing well at high altitudes. It was extremely forgiving and could be mishandled in many ways, but the rate of roll in the early versions was too low for it to excel as a dogfighter. The P-38 was the only American fighter aircraft in large-scale production throughout American involvement in the war, from Pearl Harbor to victory over Japan Day. At the end of the war, orders for 1,887 more P-38s were cancelled. Design and development. Lockheed designed the P-38 in response to a February 1937 specification from the United States Army Air Corps. Circular Proposal X608 was a set of aircraft performance goals authored by First Lieutenants Benjamin S. Kelsey and Gordon P. Saville for a twin-engine, high-altitude interceptor having the tactical mission of interception and attack of hostile aircraft at high altitude. 40 years later, Kelsey explained that he and Saville drew up the specification using the word interceptor as a way to bypass the inflexible Army Air Corps requirement for pursuit aircraft to carry no more than 500 pounds of armament, including ammunition, and to bypass the Army Air Corps restriction of single-seat aircraft to one engine. Kelsey was looking for a minimum of 1,000 pounds of armament. Kelsey and Saville aimed to get a more capable fighter, better at dogfighting and at high altitude combat. Specifications called for a maximum airspeed of at least 360 miles an hour at altitude and a climb to 20,000 feet within 6 minutes. The toughest set of specifications US Army Air Corps had ever presented. The unbuilt Vultee XP-1015 was designed to the same requirement, but was not advanced enough to merit further investigation. A similar single-engine proposal was issued at the same time circular proposal X609, in response to which the Bell P-39 Era Cobra was designed. Both proposals required liquid-cooled Allison V1710 engines with turbo superchargers and gave extra points for tricycle landing gear. The Lockheed design team, under the direction of Hull Hibbard and Clarence Kelly Johnson, considered a range of twin-engine configurations, including both engines in a central fuselage with push-pull propellers. The eventual configuration was rare in terms of contemporary fighter aircraft design, with the preceding Fokker G1 the contemporary Focke-Wulf F1-189 Luftwaffe reconnaissance aircraft, and later Northrop P-61 Black Widow night fighter having a similar planform, along with a few other unusual aircraft. The Lockheed team chose twin booms to accommodate the tail assembly, engines and turbo superchargers, with a central nacelle for the pilot and armament. The XP-38 gondola mock-up was designed to mount two 50 caliber M2 Browning machine guns with 200 rounds per gun, two 30 caliber Brownings with 500 rounds per gun, and a T1 Army Ordnance 23mm autocannon with a rotary magazine as substitute for the non-existent 25mm Hotchkiss aircraft autocannon replaced the T1. The 15 rounds were in 5-round clips, an unsatisfactory arrangement according to Kelsey, and the M9 did not perform reliably in flight. Further armament experiments from March to June 1941 resulted in the P-38E combat configuration of 4 M2 Browning machine guns and one Hispano 20mm autocannon with 150 rounds. Clustering all the armament in the nose was unusual in the US aircraft, which typically use wing-mounted guns with trajectories set up to crisscross at one or more points in a convergent zone. Nose-mounted guns did not suffer from having their usual useful ranges limited by pattern convergence, meaning that good pilots could shoot much farther. A Lightning could reliably hit targets at any range up to 1,000 yards, whereas the wing guns of other fighters were optimized for a specific range. The rate of fire was about 650 rounds per minute for the two 20 times 110mm cannon rounds at a muzzle velocity of about 2,850 feet per second, and the 50 caliber machine guns about 850 rounds per minute at 2,900 feet per second velocity. Combined rate of fire was over 4,000 rounds a minute, with roughly every 6 projectile a 20mm shell. The duration of sustained firing for the 20mm cannon was approximately 14 seconds, while the 50 caliber machine guns worked for 35 seconds if each magazine was fully loaded with 500 rounds, or for 21 seconds if 300 rounds were loaded to save weight for long distance flying. The Lockheed design incorporated tricycle undercarriage and a bubble canopy and featured two 1,000 horsepower 750 kilowatt turbo supercharged 12-cylinder Allison V1710 engines fitted with counter-rotating propellers to eliminate the effect of engine torque. With the turbochargers positioned behind the engine, the exhaust side of the units exposed along the dorsal surfaces of the booms. Counter-rotation was achieved by the use of handed engines. The crankshafts of the engines turned in opposite directions, a relatively easy task for the V1710 modular design aircraft power plant. The P-38 was the first American fighter to make extensive use of stainless steel and smooth, flush riveted butt jointed aluminium skin panels. It was also the first military plane to fly faster than 400 miles an hour in level flight. Operational history. The first unit to receive P-38s was the 1st Fighter Group. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, the unit joined the 14th Pursuit Group in San Diego to provide West Coast defense. Entry to the war. The first Lightning to see active service was the F-4 version, a P-38E, in which the guns were replaced by 4 K-17 cameras. They joined the 8th Photographic Squadron in Australia on the 4th of April 1942. 3 F-4s were operated by the Royal Australian Air Force in this theatre for a short period beginning in September 1942. On the 28th of May 1942, 25 P-38s began operating in the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. The fighter's long range made it well suited to the campaign over the almost 1,200 miles long island chain, and it was flown there for the rest of the war. The Aleutians were one of the most rugged environments available for testing the new aircraft under combat conditions. More Lightnings were lost due to severe weather and other conditions than enemy action. There were cases where Lightning pilots, mesmerized by flying for hours over grey seas under grey skies, simply flew into the water. On the 9th of August 1942, 2 P-38Es of the 343rd Fighter Group, 11th Air Force, at the end of a 1,000 miles long-range patrol, happened upon a pair of Japanese Kawanishi H-6K Mavis flying boats and destroyed them, making them the first Japanese aircraft to be shot down by Lightning. Thanks for listening and watching, and until next time.